Hello, everybody, and welcome to another edition of Serving It Up. All the boys are here in place. Lance Lynn, Matt Holliday, and Kyle Gibson. Kyle's going to have to tip out early because he has some business to attend to. Gentlemen, hello. Matt, you look like you're like 100 feet tall, but I'm glad you're with us.
Jim, I don't just get to sit in my house in front of a perfect setup for a podcast. Okay, bud? No one watches stupid show anyway, so just go ahead and start.
You seem a little angry this morning. Your team won last night, OKC. Your son hit 3 hits. You should be in a better mood. And by the way, I'm not at home. I saw you in Baltimore. I'm with the team. So we arrived here in Texas at 3:30 in the morning. Just so you know,
Your setup's
putting in
not
the
that
work.
great either.
How do
Your
you get
setup,
so
your
many
setup doesn't look
personal
awesome.
photos? How do you get so many personal photos behind you, Jim? You're in a hotel.
I travel.
You brought those from your house?
I travel with personal photos. Okay,
You would.
I'll show you later, but one is a picture of Lance, one is a picture of Matt. There's a picture of you back there. Okay. All my favorites. I carry those photos. If it's all right with Matt, who looks angry, I want to start with Kyle because you have some business to attend to. So obviously it didn't work out with the Orioles. You didn't have a spring training. You're thrown into the fire. So I want to know what's next for you.
It was a weird start to the year. I've had a lot of conversations with people, and they normally bring that up. Well, you didn't have a good spring training, whatever. And I don't like to blame it on that. I felt like I was ready. I told them I was ready. I wanted to go pitch, so they let me pitch, and it just didn't work out. Sometimes that's how it goes. And in the moment, they needed to bring up a bullpen arm for the next day, and after that last start, so they did. So. Never will have any ill feelings towards the O's, rooting for them from across the way, as long as I'm not facing them, and hoping those guys have some fun. But had a chance, after thinking about it for the last 10 days or so, had a chance to, sign on with the Rays on a minor league deal and, try to get some stuff worked out with pitch shapes and pitch usage and delivery and stuff like that, because I just felt like the delivery was off a little bit. Was lacking some extension and lacking some, pitch shapes like I normally had. And, maybe that is from obviously not having a spring training. But, so I signed on a minor league deal with the Rays and here in Durham, and hopefully, get 3, 4, 5 starts, whatever it is. And at that point, if they think I'm ready, then, they'll give me a shot. And if not, then we'll go from there.
Good for you. Good for you. Mistake, if you allow me. I think you should blame not having the spring training. If there's a problem, I would always blame it on something else, not myself. But it is true. Like, tell me, Kyle, answer this. If you had a normal spring training and you had problems with your mechanics or whatever, those I think would have been ironed out. I know you had some, minor league starts and everything, but probably not as many, probably not the same kind of situations you needed. If you had a spring training, don't you think you would have been better able to make whatever adjustments needed to be made?
Yeah, I mean, probably. I would have had 5 outings instead of 3. Which is just more time on, in-game situations, going through your game delivery, and it was interesting. I mean, some of the, I had a chance to talk to a decent amount of teams over the last 10 days, and one of the guys said, "Hey, I saw you throw in one of your first couple outings, and it just didn't look like you were ready." And that was kind of eye-opening to me, because I felt ready and I thought I was ready. So, I think something like 3 inches less of extension at release would have been, found at some point. And I think in a spring training that would have been. But, like I said, it's kind of getting to the point where I'm like, all right, I don't really want to sit here and try and blame it on a lack of spring training, because at the end of the day, I told them I was ready and they believed I was ready, and that's how it went.
So you're trying to get back to Major League Baseball. You made that commitment, and so you're back to the minors trying to do it again. You are all in on this, right?
Yeah, I mean, it was a tough decision. And very honestly, with the Rays, it's like, hey, I've got 4 kids, and I'm okay with staying home. This last 7 or 8 days at home was a lot of fun. And, as these guys on here know, you get to the point where you're at home, and it's like, man, maybe I just want to stay here. and it was a lot of conversations with Elizabeth, trying to, make sure that my purpose and my why for playing was in line and why I was doing it. So, so here I am, and I'm excited to go after it and see what these next 20 to 25 days bring.
Lance, what do you think of Kyle's pursuit?
No, I mean, I've known Kyle for a long time, so when it all went down with being released, I figured that wasn't the end. He's not one to go out like that. He knows there's more in the tank, and he's done all the preparation for the season to be ready and to pitch all year. So, like you said, he made that commitment when he decided to sign and all that. So, I'm not surprised. My wife and I were talking about, they're like, is he going to sign again? I was like, yeah, he's going to sign again. I know it's going to be hard to do it but there's just, you can't go out like that. And I know him well enough to know that he's got more in the tank and he's got something to prove. And like he doesn't want to admit, but I've been through it. You don't have a full spring training. You're just not quite there to start the year. And hopefully for him, he gets back and be able to have 3, 4, 5 starts here in AAA, kind of get his feet wet, be able to actually work through some stuff. And people don't realize in spring training, when you throw those backfield games, you're out there tinkering and stuff like that. He never got those opportunities in the midst of the spring training buildup. You have like a downtime, but it's making a start in the minor leagues where you're throwing 5 up downs, but you're like just randomly working on stuff, finding feels and stuff like that. So, this is going to be an opportunity to do that. And then, hopefully for him come, mid into June and July on, he's his normal self and he's rocking down the end here.
Matt, did he make a strategic mistake by not blaming it on not having a spring training, as I would have done quickly and loudly?
I mean, I'm not surprised that that's what you would do. So yeah, I mean, that's what you like to ingrain in who you are. So us as professional athletes, Jim, we tend to take accountability, and we don't look for excuses. So it's a I could see how that would be something you would be interested in.
Now, I want to ask you, Matt, because you're still in Baltimore. You got to spend time with your son, and Ethan was there too, which is pretty cool. I think Jackson had 3 hits last night in a rain-soaked game. So this is what I ask you guys. Matt, the schedule is so tight for Major League Baseball teams that it's now seemingly the common thing that they will play through a typhoon to get the game in. The last 2 nights, wasn't it pretty bad weather to be playing games in?
Yeah, I mean, I think that was the rain it's just hard enough it's super annoying, but not hard enough to pull the guys off the field and sort of cancel the game. And anytime you have one of these games where it's a interleague game, the Cardinals don't come back here. There was an mutual off day tomorrow, so I was a little surprised that I thought yesterday would get canceled and they'd have to play on Thursday, but I know those off days are like gold, and so they were going to do everything they could to get the game in based on the circumstances. I think they cancel a little more often when it's an interdivision, and you have a couple opportunities to make it up down the line. So that all goes into the factor of canceling or not canceling. But yeah, I mean, the schedule just dictates that you gotta try to get the game in if you can. I mean, it was brutal, I think, the last couple nights as far as just kind of annoying, but I don't think it affected the game as far as who won or lost. There wasn't anybody slipping and falling down or anything like that. So I actually have seen worse than the last couple of days, but it's not ideal, obviously, to play in rain and cold and at the end of May. You would have thought those days it's more usually April, but it is what it is. You got to go out there and, just get after it and get that out of your mind. You can't think, well, they're going to cancel the game, and then you kind of shut it off mentally, and you just got to be ready to play and get out there. And that's the challenge, I think, as these guys would tell you. Like, sometimes it's more of a mental grind than it is physical on nights like that, where it's like it's kind of rainy, it looks like it's going to rain all day, and then all of a sudden it's kind of clears up and it's not raining that bad, and they're like, yeah, we're playing. And so it's like you have to be mentally into it and not checked out. So that's one of the challenges of a 162 game season.
Hey, I have a question. Who do you think gets it right? Does the NFL get it right, always playing every game, like no matter what, unless there's lightning and tornadoes? Or does Major League Baseball get it right, trying to have somewhat good conditions for every game played so that the players dictate the game? Because that's how I look at it a little bit.
Yeah, I can't imagine trying to play baseball. I mean, look, the NFL, they're kind of known for that kind of stuff. But, like, if the pitcher can't hold the ball and it's slipping and his feet are slipping and he slips and hits a guy in the head, like, there's some things that involved in baseball where it's like, look, that can't happen. Like, we can't have somebody get hit in the face with basically a rock because the guy slips and falls, or his plant foot slips and he hits somebody in the face. Like, at least in the NFL, they have helmets and padding, and, slipping they're running into each other anyways. And so, I think that sports are meant to be played, especially baseball, like, in decent weather. Like, I don't know. It's just, to me, like, these games all matter, and they could have easily played Thursday today. I mean, it's beautiful today. There's no rain, but the Cardinals wanted to get their off day in Texas. The Orioles wanted they've been playing in a long streak of games, and so they want their off day. And so, actually, Nolan told Jackson, he's like, I'm willing to play until 3 a.m. If we have to get that off day tomorrow in Texas. And so,
knowing what I know about Miles, and he's the PA guy, he had a golf set up today. So
they did.
They were getting to Texas to play golf today.
I actually talked to Sonny on my way out last night, and he said, we got a golf outing at Las Colinas tomorrow in Texas, and we were getting this game in. So there's all kinds of reasons why the boys want to get it in, and they're willing to slip and slide a little bit to get the game in, to get to the golf outing, to get to the pool, to get to that. It's like that carrot at the end of sort of this long streak where everybody's like, they circle that. Like, I'm going to spend the whole day at the pool getting a tan like Lance used to do, or it might be Kyle, that wants to go play golf, or some guys like to sleep all day, or a guy like you, Jim, you're probably looking to get a huge workout in, and probably, work on sunning your 6-pack, and,
it's a lap day. It's a lap day for me.
Yeah, that's a good hotel. Your families are probably there too, because it's the resort. So I was usually shirtless on the golf course, catching a tan and playing golf.
Doing both.
It was great for everything, and then got my lats in at the end.
Yeah,
you could say that the weather wasn't that bad, and maybe for position players, isn't it, Lance? Isn't it much harder for pitchers? Like, maybe I'm wrong, but
most likely
pitching, is all about grip and pressure, and if the ball's constantly wet, isn't it more of an issue for pitchers?
You could say that because it starts with us. But you're looking at as a hitter, when you have helmet on with rain dripping down the bat, your gloves are slick or wet. To be honest, it's not good either way. There's really no other way to say it. They can't see. They don't think they can hold on to the bat. We don't know where the heck the ball's going. We can't feel a seam. It's got slipperiness to it. So all in all, if you can't get, if it's the misty kind of annoy you rain, that's fine. But when it starts seeping through your glove and your hat's dripping, that's a different story.
How about you, Kyle? If it's raining out, do you have to change what you're doing? Does it impact what you throw?
I don't know. Yes, I'm sure it has impacted what I've thrown, but you're really just trying to find ways to keep your hand dry. The rosin normally gets soaked, so then the rosin doesn't do you any good. It's. I think one of the most difficult things about it in baseball is just the delay part. There was a time last year where I warmed up twice in the bullpen, and then they delayed the game. It's at that point the adrenaline juices are flowing. You're warmed up for the game, and then I think we played like an hour and a half later. So I threw a bullpen twice before the game, and then went out and pitched, and I was throwing 87 to 89 miles an hour, which I know isn't much slower than I normally throw, but it still is slower, and it's a lot harder. So I think playing in the rain would create some, if the fans stuck around, some ooh-ah moments when the bat goes flying, or the pitch goes to the backstop, or the throw from the shortstop hits the the net on the side, but I don't think it's the game anybody wants to play. I just was interested in what you guys thought.
So St. Louis has really, I mean, we have pro soccer there now, which is nice, city, but it's Blues, Cardinals, right? And so there's always been that battle in baseball. If a pitcher has a minor issue, he can't be a good pitcher. If a batter has like a wrist issue, a lot of guys just you can't swing the bat. In hockey, like I'll mention Tony Twist, one of the toughest guys ever played, because I'm throwing that out there for Jamie. But hockey guys play through everything, right? They're the toughest guys, isn't it? And Matt, I'll start with you because you played football. You know you're a giant guy. It's a different thing, right? You can't play through certain things in baseball the way you can in other sports, correct?
Yeah, I mean, I certainly think it depends on the injury. I mean, there's things with your wrist and things that when you're holding the bat, that if it creates the, if you can't swing full 100% against guys throwing 95 miles an hour, then you can't compete. I mean, if your hamstring's a little tight or your calf's a little tight or you rolled your ankle a little bit or your back's a little stiff and you can get it loose, like all those things, that's part of the 162. Like it's the whole, I'm a little sore versus I'm injured, or I'm hurting, but I'm in versus injured. And I think that's the fine line. I think that we as athletes, you weigh the pros and cons of being out there and being sore and saying, you know what, it doesn't, I got to get out there and there's something, you took pride in about playing sore and you wanted to be out there and you wanted to post and you wanted to play as many games as you possibly could. I think now that philosophy's changed a little bit. I think they're encouraging guys more to take more days off, to play at 100% more often, to try to make sure that they're managing their play. And, they talk about that in the NBA and all these guys, these set days off or these set, hey, you don't play this many games in a row. And we have all these things like the Oura Ring and the Whoop. And we have all these things, these they wear these chest things that track their steps. And so you have a lot more data now. And I think that they're more conscious of guys trying to play as close to 100% as they did sort of when I broke in. And for most of my career, it was like, if you're an everyday guy, like you're an everyday guy, like you need to be out there and you felt this accountability to your teammates. And like, even if you were sore or, something didn't feel great, if you could play, that was like a badge of honor. Like you got out there and you played, and it's just, the whole thing's changed a little bit these days. And so, I don't know which is better. I don't know if one way is better than the other. I sort of took a lot of pride in at the end of the season looking up and playing 156, 158 games. Now I think most guys are good with playing 140 to 145 games and getting those extra kind of scheduled off days to feel better by the end of the season, which maybe that is the best way. Maybe using all of the information and the data that we have these days that we can collect on guys is smart.
Well, what we see sometimes in the NBA, though, is load management now where superstars can't play, a certain amount of games. Lance, do you differ with the opinion that maybe baseball guys aren't as tough as, say, hockey players?
No, hockey players are always going to try to claim that they're the toughest, right? That's kind of been their MO for a long time. And that's a tough, grueling sport. Every year you see guys play a full season and have surgery when they're done. So guys are playing through stuff. They're dealing with stuff in this sport too, and they're not just shutting it down for 15 days just because they don't feel good. And that being said, there are guys that have done that. I have seen that, and that usually is a tough one to swallow if they're on your team. But hockey's got that tough man thing. Like Matt said, when we first came up, it was figure out how to make 30 starts and throw 200 innings. Now they don't care about that either. It's like, hey, we're good with 25 starts and like 160 to 180 innings. So the game has changed a little bit, and I think that all the numbers and doctors and all that say, hey, this might be the best way. And if you're a playoff team and you got a guy that can, maybe make 5 less starts or play 10 less games, but they're fresher in the playoffs, and the other team had to really push at the end to get there and they're worn out and you're a little fresher at the end, hey, you might have a better chance. So I will say this: no other sport plays every day or mostly every day and for 8 straight months like baseball does. So there's a little bit of difference there than any other sport.
It's a different kind of toughness, isn't it, Kyle? Right? It's a different thing, but both, it's a grind.
Yeah, I just had a Matt moment with StreamYard where I couldn't hear anybody, so my back totally changed the setup.
It's always my fault.
Totally changed the setup where Matt's love for StreamYard had carried on to my iPad. I'm now holding my phone in front of me. No, Matt, I'm actually on your side right now. I'm on your side with StreamYard today.
Thank you.
Yeah, I mean, I think the 162 is definitely a different grind. I've told all the position players I've talked to the grind they have is totally different. And just talking with a guy yesterday, a starting pitcher grind is different as well. It's whenever I have a bad game, more than likely the team's going to lose. Whenever I have a good game, we have a good chance to win as well. So there's that good feeling. But and then like Lance has said, making 30 starts. That's normally the standard, right? Go make 30, be available as best as you can, because sometimes the best ability is availability, and being out there and being even 90% of yourself is good enough. So, I think there is definitely something for a pitcher and a position player to be able to work through and figure out what is an injury and what is soreness, and how do you get the best out of yourself when you don't feel your best.
There's an old adage in baseball that pitchers are the best athletes on the field. I like to bring that up because maybe I can get you guys to go after each other a little bit. Kyle, are pitchers the best athletes in baseball?
Considering I've got about 30 seconds and I've got to leave, I think this is perfect for me. Yes, I think pitchers are definitely the best athletes. It's funny. You take a position player who can crow hop and throw it 95 from the outfield, and they go to the mound, and it's 85 really quick. So, yes, I think we're the best athletes. And, I'll leave on that. Thank you, guys. Have a great rest of the show. I'll check in at the end here to see if StreamYard is still all right. I'm out of here.
All right. Thanks, Kyle.
Good day, sir.
Yeah, all good day.
All right, Matt. Are pitchers the best athletes, or do you have an issue with that?
Look, we can't put this in a vacuum. Like, I've played enough pitchers that are would never call them an athlete, just like I've played with position players that are not good athletes. So I don't necessarily think you have to be like, depending on what your sort of characteristics of athlete is. Like, if you're talking like running fast, jumping high, or skilled, which means, you can do a lot of different things. I do think baseball players typically are very skilled. We can typically transition to a basketball court and look normal and shoot shots. And you can put us in football. We can throw the ball down the field and catch and run. And whereas I see other sports come over to our sport and try to hit baseballs or throw baseballs. And sometimes it doesn't look very athletic at all. So, look, I think basketball players in general, if you're just talking about like running and jumping and like that kind of athleticism, I don't think pitchers and maybe some position players aren't very athletic. But if you're talking about like guys that are skilled, that can do things and have like Lance is a good golfer, like you put him in ping pong, you play basketball, like these things, he can do all these things pretty well. But like I said, you take some of these other guys and they put them in our sport and let them go try to hit a guy throwing 95. It's not pretty. And so I just think it's kind of weird, like as far as, skill versus athleticism, like raw athleticism. But to say like pitchers or position players, like that's such a, guy to guy, player to player, like comparison. Like there's really good athletes that pitch, and there's really good athletes that play a position. So I don't know. I mean, we like to have this, debate where these guys, everybody at Wayno loves to say it. And then we love to trash every time a pitcher picks a ball up and throws it down the right field line and misses the target by 100 feet or slips going to pick up a bunt and, looks like a giraffe. So, there's always outliers, but I think in general, it's very person specific.
Yeah, but Lance, pitchers are always the ones that bring that up, right? It's like your average right fielder isn't the guy that says, by the way, right fielders are the best athletes in baseball. It's always you guys.
Usually, so you say that it's just certain few pitchers that always bring it up, and they're usually like the high school punter or kicker. You know what I'm saying? Like
they're very self conscious about their masculinity.
Like the guys that are truly able to do a lot of other things, they don't need to say it. Everybody knows it. So I think the people that outwardly say, "Oh, pitchers are the best athletes on the field," are remembering like back in the day when they were 12 years old and they were the only person that could throw, and they were like, "Oh, I'm the best athlete on the field." No, you're the only kid that can throw it over home plate. So like for me, I played all sports. I played different position. I wasn't a pitcher only growing up. So there are pitchers that are athletic in other things besides just pitching, and then there are pitchers that, when they're pitchers only since they're 12 years old, they are not athletic. There's really no other way to say it. So there is a difference in that and all that. And I tell people this for years. Do you know how athletic I am to be that overweight during my playing career and be as good as I was? Like, that is just pure athletic ability.
It's a great point. It's a great point.
Yeah, position players can't do that. They'll break down in a heartbeat. I was able to play 14 years being 30, 40 pounds overweight the whole time. That's amazing.
Skill. That's an athlete. You're an athlete.
That's like, if you don't have athletic ability, you're going to snap. You're just crumble.
It is getting warmer outside, and it's time to think about your AC or your refrigeration system. That means it's time to think about our friends at Kovac Mechanical. Can you say the name for me, Lance?
Kovac Mechanical, baby.
Kovac Mechanical. They provide exceptional service in the St. Louis area. They've been doing it for like 70 years, so they're ready to help you with residential or your commercial needs. State-of-the-art technology, best customer service in the business. I can vouch for these guys. They are the best. So if you need anything in terms of maintenance, repair, Kovac Mechanical is the move. 636-343-4410. 636-343-4410. Kovac Mechanical. I want to get back to Matt for a second because I thought it was really cool. You have Ethan with you. You have Jackson playing. You got to watch. You're in the stands. Lance, it's raining out. He wasn't in a suite or anything. He's sitting there. Now, we did an interview for FanDuel, and he wore like just a generic shirt and hat. But as soon as that's over, he's got the Orioles gear, and it's in the rain, and he's sitting there like a regular guy. He didn't have a suite, didn't have an entourage.
Yeah, well, the holidays are gamers. Like, there's no other way to say it. That's the truth of the matter. It's like, okay, I go to a game and I'm got to be one with the elements. So, yeah. I'm not surprised by that at all. I know he got a little flack because they showed him on TV wearing the Orioles stuff instead of the Cardinals, but it's like, come on, man. Your family comes first. You have your love for organizations that you played for, but family will always come first. It's like, man, one day I hope to be sitting in the stands, and if my kid plays for the Cubs, I'm gonna have to wear a Cubs hat and shirt. Like, there really is no other way to say it. But that being said, if it's raining, rain or shine, he's gonna be in the stands watching, and that's what the holidays are. But that's what a dad is also.
I think, Matt, everyone understands it's your kid. Everyone knows that.
There's also the factor that it's 55 degrees and raining, and I did not pack like a rain jacket and like extra hoodies.
You went bought a whole outfit there?
Like late May. This was, hey, Jackson, I don't have anything for the weather that's here. Can you grab me a sweatshirt or a coat so that I'm
have
not
the clubby
cold?
send it up?
And that's what happened. So they sent me this sweatshirt, and I'm out of clothes, by the way, because this is day 5, and I've found some way to wear 7 T-shirts in 5 days. And so I actually had to put this on this morning because I don't have a shirt on underneath. And so that's where we're at. So it's not because I'm like making a statement that I love the Orioles more than the Cardinals. Or this is beautiful. Like, look, this is like out of necessity. Like, I love the Cardinals. I love my son. I love the Orioles now. So this isn't like a statement. This is a out of need for potential rain and cold. And I did not pack, like I just said. why would I pack a parka for late May baseball?
Perfect. True.
Lance,
You're on the harbor over there though.
Yeah, I didn't see this coming.
Well, there's a
first
cold.
May in Baltimore. He's got to get his bearings there. And the question I have is, if it comes to the boys, which team would you not wear their colors? Is there anyone if they're there? If you're in the stands,
I don't know. I don't think so. I mean, look, blood's thicker than water. I do feel a little bit of blood as part of the Cardinals. So it's not, like I said, I spent a lot of time over the last couple days catching up with the boys. And I had breakfast with Ollie, but when he brought John King in, the lefty, to face Jackson, I thought, you know what, you son of a bitch, you can pay for your own breakfast.
Yep, bingo. Yeah, I said I'd wear a Cubs thing, but I might just wear a blue shirt.
Yeah. So, like I said, I take Ollie to breakfast. He brings the lefty in to face Jackson. And I think, where are we at? And then, I talked to JJ, and I didn't get to see Scals. Didn't run into Scals, but Leslie talked to him for a while. But yeah, got to catch up with a lot of people. Had to see your sorry face several times. And so, it was a good weekend. I think, like I said, the Cardinals won 2 out of 3, so they should be happy. Jackson had some good hits, so he should be happy. So all in all, pretty good 3-day run.
He's a stud. Jackson is a stud. And for the record, so Matt and Jackson did a sit down with me for FanDuel, and Matt was going to come a little later. Then I asked him if he could come earlier, and he and Ethan in the rain rode scooters to get to the ballpark. That is a gamer. Matt Holliday.
Yeah.
There's no better way to ride a scooter, though, to be honest. And
Well,
it's like, you're going to do it.
There's no better way to get around Baltimore. Like, it's just, you just hop on the scooter and you avoid the traffic. And Ethan and I we were here for the playoffs last year, and we rode scooters all over town. So we've got kind of our little ways and paths. Yeah. So it's actually pretty fun outside of, being soaking wet by the time I got there, but it was fine.
There's no better thing than a grown man riding a scooter. It's the best feeling I've ever had in cities. I got the little Bird app, and every city we went to, hey, if there's a scooter, a way to get to the ballpark on a scooter, I'm going. It's like being a kid again.
Yeah.
See that. First of all,
I'd like to see you on a scooter.
Yeah, me too.
I'd be fine. The difference is you are both two giant guys on little scooters, and I would pay money to see that. You mentioned the Cardinals took 2 of 3. So I think the whole season is haywire for the Cardinals, because it was going to be everyone gets runway. We're going to find out where we are. Mo's moving on. It's going to be Heim's team. And then the Cardinals like, well, wait a second. We're good. We're getting better. And I just wonder your guys' take on this, because trade deadline's still a ways off, but everyone always in baseball, you speculate on stuff. The Cardinals, it seemed like they would be sellers, but I'll ask you first. But Lance, do you think the way they're playing, and the fact that I think they I think they can win the Central at this point, and things go up and down, change, people get hurt. I think they have a shot to win the Central. Are they buyers now, or should they continue the plan to be sellers and kind of clear the deck for Heim Bloom?
I think it's going to be a little bit of both. To be honest, it's a weird one. You see teams over the years, it's like, hey, we weren't expecting to maybe be in it, but we got to clear some pieces to let the guys go that have kind of taken over the spots. Your whole thing was to see what you got, let guys develop, let guys be who they're going to be and figure out who they're going to be. And I think you're kind of seeing that. So now it's like, okay, where am I at in the system below them? And then what do I have on my major league team? And how can I make my major league team better without losing any of my guys? And then what can I kind of move on from, and or kind of I'm top heavy in this department or this spot in the organization. What can I trade from there to get what I need and clear a path for the guys that have kind of taken over? So it's both. How can you make sure you keep what you have going? They're kind of your future, know what your future is, and guys that have kind of maybe become not the future or are log jammed below them. How can I kind of weed that out, thin that out a little bit to get what I need going down the stretch?
What do you think, Holliday?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's one of those things, like, they've been really healthy in the pitching department so far. So, I mean, I just think it's one of those things where you kind of play play it by how it goes, right? You look at what are their needs, like what would you trade for, like how would you improve this team, and then at what cost? Like Lance said, you're not going to trade prospects that you're counting on fairly soon, or guys that you think could be potentially be difference makers to try to make a run just to win the Central if you don't necessarily think you could win the World Series. So I think it's that managing like the future, but also giving these guys a little bit of a boost if it's needed. Like their rotation has been super healthy so far, and all their guys have, I think, made almost all their starts. Their bullpen is really good. They've had a lot of timely hitting. And so I think as it gets closer to the deadline, it's right now it's too early to say that like, hey, you should go all in and really, maybe trade a guy that you're uncomfortable trading. But I think if you get closer and you remain healthy, maybe you add a depth piece, maybe you add a veteran, the guy that could come over and, that you can get fairly cheap, that somebody's maybe dumping payroll, that you could take on a little bit of payroll and not have to give up a big prospect. You start to look at those opportunities. I think it's probably what they're going to look at is adding payroll more than they're going to want to trade away prospects. So if you get teams that are dumping, that want to just get out from under salaries and you can take it on, I think that's probably their best scenario. So again, if they continue to stay healthy, I think they're going to be right in it at the end in the Central. I think that's how good I think their roster is currently. I don't know about their depth in AAA as far as pitching goes, but I think as of just watching the last 3 days, I think it's a good team. I think it's better than people thought, but I think it's like their bullpen's real. Like their rotation, all their guys give them a chance to win, and so that's the kind of team that just keeps winning series or winning. They don't go on long runs of losing, and so it'll be fascinating as it gets closer to the deadline.
Relentless attack offensively. Starting pitching has been great, which I think helps the bullpen be good. And they do have a couple of starters at AAA that I think could plug in if someone got hurt. But hear me out. I went to Geneseo State, SUNY Geneseo, and I don't have a pedigree background, but here's my belief. Tell me if I'm wrong, because maybe I am. But I believe if you have an opportunity, the window of opportunity appears, you climb through because you never know when that opportunity is going to present itself again. I've seen really good teams that you thought would be shoo-ins for the postseason. Things went awry. They had to rebuild. So if that window was there, Lance, you try to climb through it. Am I wrong?
Yeah, I mean, obviously making the playoffs is huge. There's no other way because it gives you a chance to win the World Series. But you also have to realize that it depends on what you're trading away. Like Matt said, you can't get rid of somebody that you really think is going to be a part of your core for 4 to 6 years, give or take. So it's that fine line. And then you go back and look. Let's go back and look at 11. Right, we were a 500-ish team, kind of puttering around, and then all of a sudden Mo traded Rasmus, and everyone was like, "What are we doing?" And then you got guys to be able to play, and that you kind of weeded out so guys could actually get their opportunity and play that were good. And that's when John Jay came on and stuff like that. So when I was saying that there's a possibility of an acquisition by taking away a little bit, it just opens the door for the guys under him that are ready to go. And that's the front office's job and the coaching staff's job is who are our guys and who are not our guys and don't fit in the next year and the year after that. And then figure out to be like, okay, we're still in this, but we subtracted here and here to add here and here. So that's going to be the calculated decisions they have to make where you're going for it, but in people's mind, you're like, you didn't go all in because you got rid of this guy. Getting rid of somebody gives the next guy a chance that might be ready and or might have already taken over in the clubhouse and or things that people don't see every day. And you got to allow those things to happen. And that's a tough thing for the front office and coaches to be like, okay, this he's kind of gotten taken over. We gotta see what we can get for him and make our team better. And we're also plugging a guy in that can play and do the job, and we're making our rest of our team better. So it's a calculated decision for sure.
Matt, you got to see the Cardinals up close and personal. I know you're very familiar with the organization. watching them at the games, I know you watch the games on TV too. Is there someone on the roster that maybe really impressed you that you maybe weren't sure about before, or hadn't seen enough of?
Yeah, I mean, I think even going back to your last question with Lance is like, you have to be careful. Like a guy like Tink Hence or some of these, these prospects that other teams are going to want. Like, you don't want to go all in when you talk about like the window. Like, if you're going to trade guys, like I think in hindsight, like when they traded Alcantara and Zach Gallen, they certainly, remember those things, and that they went all in when they tried to when they got rid of those guys in trades, but then, they come back to kind of haunt you, like where you think, what if we had those guys in your rotation? So I think you have to be careful, as far as like going all in, because you see this window right here and you end up trading guys. And that's where, like Lance said, the evaluation of like who are like, franchise core type players. And then who do you think maybe is a little overvalued, maybe on the market as far as prospects go? But and thinking about your question about guys this weekend, I mean, or this last couple of days, I mean, I think everybody knows Brendan Donovan is hitting 330, and he's won a Gold Glove, and everybody appreciates that and knows he's a good player. But I think he's really like a kind of a glue part of their team, and he comes up with big hits. He's a tough out. He's gritty. He plays the game right. He has a good presence about him. So he's somebody that I was impressed with watching, in person, that maybe on TV you don't get the full appreciation for what he does on both sides of the ball. But yeah, I mean, I think all their catchers are very capable players that it's impressive that, they can carry, maybe if you include Contreras, they're carrying 4 catchers, and all of them are pretty good hitters, and all of them, the 3 that are catching are pretty good catchers. And so I think they've built up a nice collection of catchers that they could probably trade from that depth. I'm guessing there'd be a lot of teams that'd be interested in some of those guys. But, like I said, all in all, I'm pretty familiar with the team, but Newbars is a good offensive player, and has good at bats. So they have a nice, pretty versatile roster to deploy every night.
Hey, what's Brendan Donovan like behind the scenes, Lance? Because what we see, and I get to see a little more, obviously, but that guy is all business.
Yeah, he is. He's really taking over that role as he'll do anything for the team, play any position, hit anywhere in the lineup, and doesn't gripe, doesn't bitch, shows up every day. And I think a lot of Goldie had a great impression on him. And he's worked with Nato and all those guys. So he's really done a good job of kind of taking what he does naturally. And he's a guy that plays the game hard and kind of is a natural leader by working hard, playing hard. And then he's figured out how to bring the guys along with him. And, when you get a little older in the game, you just you're able to do that more too, because you feel a little bit more comfortable. So I think it's a little bit of being able to just finally be comfortable, and got to arbitration, kind of building up to this. So you're seeing what the buildup's been, and having Goldie and guys like that around. Carp was good for him last year. It's kind of like you're just kind of seeing it all come together. And I think the same with Newt. Newt's kind of a fun-loving kid, and everyone's got to see that coming up too. They're very similar personalities when it comes to the way they work, the way they take care of their teammates, and the way they include everybody. One's just a little bit, Newt's got a little bit more flair to him, and Donnie's a little bit more of a grinder. So, but they're very similar in all aspects of how they take care of everybody, how they work, and how they make sure everybody's involved and wants everybody to be good around them.
Matt, do you think the Cardinals have a shot of winning the Central? Do you think that's realistic?
Yeah, I mean, I do. Like we talked about, like if they're able to stay healthy, like they've been, a lot of teams are pretty beat up, and they've been healthy, and I think that's crucial. Like you're going to have years where seemingly most of your guys are hurt or in and out of the rotation, or you have some injuries, and you're constantly testing the depth, and you're bringing guys up, and you're designating guys, and you're adding pieces because it's wearing down your bullpen, and there's a lot of up and down, and the roster guys coming in and out, and they've been primarily very healthy. And I think that's one of the keys to their success. And if they continue to be able to stay healthy and they have their guys taking the ball every fifth day and they keep that rotation thing going, and I think they can win the Central. I don't think the Brewers are as good as they've been recently. I don't think the Reds have quite taken the step forward that everybody thought they might take. I mean, I think the Cubs have a good, talented roster. But I think, I think they have a chance. Like I said, if they're able to add a piece or two that maybe the salary dump guys that could come in and give them a little bit of a boost. But yeah, it'll be, I think as of current construction and health, I think they can. Yeah.
So a topic I wanted to throw out there, because we were discussing it on the bus last night with Ricky Horton and some of the guys I work with. We were talking about the dangers of baseball. Like, it started because the ball was slick. Someone, as Matt pointed out, could get hit by a pitch. And I was wondering, there was a time where one of the Cardinal minor leaguers got hit by a line drive, Ponce de Leon, and you guys started wearing inserts in the hat. And I remember it's now part of folklore on the internet, this back and forth where a ball hits you in the hat and you said it was protected.
It hit him in the bill.
Right.
Yeah, it was a hat.
It was a hat. But guys, there was one player who wore the protective hat, but guys who were going to inserts inside their cat, just to give them some protection. I don't think guys do that anymore, do they?
I don't know. I know at the end they had like an insert, but remember they had like the big cone at one point, and then I've never even put it on because my head's already too big. I didn't need anything else to make it look any bigger out there. But they had like the Evo Shield made something that kind of forms to the hat. I wouldn't be surprised if guys have that on and you don't even know, to be honest, because what you do is you do it on your opposite side or your glove side because you usually fall off, or your throw side because you usually fall off, and then it's just kind of right there. I wouldn't be surprised if people have that and you don't even know, because it's just like the Evo Shields that they have on their elbows or thing. They've made an insert in there that can go in there, and if you have the pitch comm on the other side, then you wouldn't even notice that there was anything different going on in there.
All right, I'm gonna have to check on that. Matt, did you ever have a scary moment with an inside pitch where you thought it might be over for you? Because there's a real danger in baseball with that kind of stuff.
I mean, it never where I thought that. I mean, I got Cashner hit me in the nose. I was lucky. He hit me. I kind of leaned back and it hit my nose and bloodied my nose. And at that point, I thought maybe it was a little bit, but it didn't really. It was mostly just soft tissue. That was probably the closest to anything that I remember as far as like the facial area, where had it caught me flush would have, if it had caught my face would probably broke my cheek, and but yeah, I mean that's part of it. I think that's the part of the game, like that kind of. I mean, you don't want to ever see that, and that's why guys get so pissed when the ball comes high and tight, because you start getting in the face area. That's where something major could happen. The guys wear the thing now across the jaw, with Stanton and a couple guys getting hit in the face, where they make that thing now that most guys are wearing. So I think that it's an added element of protection. But yeah, I mean, look, that's in sport that it comes with risk, and every sport has an element of risk that is part of it. I mean, thankfully we're not nearly as at risk as NFL players with the CTE and like all that head banging. But certainly, when you get in there and if you get hit in the face, you're maybe a little hesitant getting in there again, in the ball. You have to kind of work through that. I know some guys have had some issues with a little bit of that after getting hit in the face. So it's all, like I said, it's part of it. It's obviously not ideal. But it kind of comes with part of sport in general.
You look at pitching now, Lance, you're an old school guy. It seems younger pitchers, and you kind of touched on it earlier, they want guys who can throw 100, and maybe they're not as developed in terms of command and where the ball is going. And so it can create more dangerous situations, don't you think?
Oh yeah, 100%. And that's kind of I remember coming up when Tony used to yell out of the dugout if you had a young guy throwing the ball hard and the catcher would set up inside. It's like, hey, he can't control that, so don't set up in there. Fucking set up away until you know what he knows what he's doing. So there is a fine line between, hey, you got to pitch and you're here and you got to compete, but like for me, I mean, and then, I've hit people on accident, up and in, got some hands and stuff like that. And there's no worse feeling than hitting a guy, especially up top or where you knock him out of a game. But if you're throwing a ball 100 miles an hour and you're not throwing it at a target, really, these guys come up and they don't throw to a target. They literally just throw towards the catcher. So, like for me, yeah, there's a lot of scariness in that sense. And then, like you're saying, the arm side flyers for a righty or lefty, whoever's in the box is definitely a thing these days, and I think it's more than ever. But like I said, they got the face guard and stuff like that, so they're a little bit more protected now. But still, it's not a. I think you're seeing a day and age where we got more grab it, heave it than we've ever had. So yeah, it's definitely a little bit scarier than probably back in the day.
Last thing, and then I'll cut you guys loose. Matt, you can go buy a clean T-shirt. Do you recall a time where you thought a guy was throwing at you intentionally? I mean, I'm sure it's happened. You have an incident or something where you were pretty sure they were going after you intentionally. That would seem like a scary move because you're a giant human being.
Yeah, I mean, I there 100% know of several. One that stands out that is somewhat funny was Kershaw. We had hit Hanley Ramirez. I think we broke his hand maybe once.
Was that the one where Joe broke his rib in the playoffs?
Yeah, yeah. And then the next year, I think we opened up, or maybe the first couple series was against the Dodgers, and we hit him again. And so Kershaw was pitching, and I knew somebody was going to get it. Could have possibly been me. I was hitting third at the time. Hanley was hitting third, and typically it's like tit for tat. But I was leading off the inning, and I thought, he's not going to hit me to lead off the inning. Like, this probably isn't the one. And so I remember standing in there because, sometimes when you're the guy, you're like, okay, I'm in like.
Let's get this over with.
Yeah, and so this time I'm like, okay, I'm getting ready for, I think it's leading off the inning. It's not the time. It was a close game, maybe the fifth or sixth inning. I don't remember exactly. And sure enough, like I could almost like see him like stepping towards me, and he hit me right in the thigh, like right there, squared me up. And of course, you don't want. I mean, it was good, like meaty, like, and so of course you don't want him to know that it stings at all. And so I just walked to first, and I was like, the standard, like, okay, you got me, like that was the one. Everybody kind of jars back and forth. And it stung a little, so it kind of pisses you off. And then it like got super black and blue. And he and Wayno are friends, and we're friendly. I don't know him as well as Wayno does, but I had Wayno. I mean, that thing the next day was purple, and so I took a picture like this, and Wayno sent it to him the next day. But he was offended that I didn't show more. That I didn't act like it hurt very bad. And so I was like, yeah, I'm never going to show you that it hurt very bad. So that was one that I know it for 100%. You hit me on purpose. And then there was an incident in the playoffs with the Giants where after I slid into Scudero, that Matt Cain hit me on purpose that I 100% knew was on purpose. But,
I remember that one. Yeah, I remember that.
Whatever.
Because you did crush Scudero.
Yeah, but that was when it was part of the game. And I even admitted, I was like, I know I was one step late on sliding. It wasn't on purpose. Like I was trying to take him out because that's what we did. And it was the playoffs. I didn't want to get as much meat as I got. Like you want to slide in, but it was kind of an awkward play. And, like I said, I didn't mean to hurt him, obviously. And but that was the big, talk and big blah, blah, blah. And finally he hit me on purpose, which whatever, that didn't hurt at all.
Well, I remember that. And there was like 1 million guys around your locker after the game. That was awesome. All right. Well, fellas, I appreciate your time. Kyle Gibson, for Lance, for Matt. This has been another edition of Serving It Up we'll see you again next time, and hopefully it won't suck.